Today, I will be participating in Boylei Hobby Time's monthly art challenge. The challenge for this month is an unexpected friend diorama. Pretty quickly, I fell back on the old proverb of an enemy of my enemy is my friend. In my previous project, I made a diorama showcasing 3 fictional knights charging a giant viper in a fictional world I've been building. I thought it'd be pretty fun to continue the story from that diorama. For the base of this diorama, I'll use 2 pieces of XPS foam, sanded down to create a little bit of a slope, and then cutting out some jagged rocks to match the terrain from the previous diorama. This diorama's terrain is pretty straightforward, but I'm going for a dry, arid river basin located in the region Romont. In the previous diorama, 3 knights, Monks, Alden, and Alsac, were on a diplomatic mission across the countryside, where they ran into an Argos viper laying amongst the rocks. If you saw the thumbnail for this video, you can probably tell that tale did not end happily. Overall, the techniques from the last diorama are pretty much the same techniques I used here, except I decided to use a layer of Mod Podge to protect the foam, because last time some damages occurred accidentally. But once we had made our larger rocks out of XPS foam that had been torn up and textured, I could then come in with various sizes of ballast to cover the rest of the base of the diorama. I honestly would have probably liked to do a little bit more for this monthly art challenge. However, I don't know if you can tell in my voice, but I'm coming off a bit of a cold, so this was kind of the best I could do with the multiple days I spent in bed sleeping. Once the overall diorama has been assembled, we can then start to move to paint it. To do this, I started by priming it through my airbrush, giving it a nice, healthy zenithal. To paint this terrain, I pulled out my oil paints again. I'm having fun trying to learn this higher skill ceiling type of painting, and trying to match the landscape of my previous diorama as close as I could. Ultimately, I think my previous diorama, it was a little bit more black and white than I would have preferred, and then this one actually ended up being too earthy tones, so I had to pull back the colors a little bit to match the slate gray colors of the original diorama. For the miniatures, I kind of went on autopilot here a little bit, accidentally priming them all black, even though I only wanted to zenithal the humanoid figures, not necessarily the ghouls as well. Pretty much I just had to reprime the ghosts with a couple layers of white primer just to make sure none of the black was showing through too much, because for painting the ghosts, these guys are pretty simple. I just used a green fluorescent paint, which took multiple layers, but I really enjoyed how it popped in the end. For this diorama, I would like to introduce the Knight Errant Bren. Bren also hails from the kingdom of Regaby and was tasked by his lord to go find where the diplomatic envoy to Komino had disappeared to. Bren, as a knight errant, was especially well skilled at navigating foreign terrain and acting a little bit more independently than our 3 previous inexperienced knights. Along his path, he ran into a bandit named Pier, who is native to the Romont region and flies a banner under a local bandit warlord. However, when Pier ambushed Bren in this riverbed, 3 ghouls emerged out of the ground, surprising them both. The ghouls are actually trying to help Bren out, but unfortunately, as a normal human would react, 3 ghouls and 1 bandit will lead to the 2 classic enemies ganging up against the ghouls. Bren's design is still fairly simple, just based off of 1300s English Army 100 Years War color palettes. or also the colors of House Plantagenet, as I've learned recently doing more research. But that is just the inspiration for it. Regaby is a fictional kingdom. And the color palette for Pier is just black and a warlord purple from Vallejo, just because that color just spoke to me in the moment, and given the fact that he's a bandit, it felt appropriate. I won't get into Pier's background or the bandit warlord's background that much in this video, just because I feel like they deserve their own thing, and I think I can make something a little bit more interesting than a ghoulish showdown in the dry terrain. Making this little world has actually been a super beneficial escape for me from reality. I've been super busy over the past 2 months, and I've been hitting burnout levels a little hard. So just thinking about, kingdoms and knights and jousts has been really relaxing. And it's been really nice to be able to see my painting ability, even from the previous diorama, increase marginally. I find myself having better brush control, knowing where highlights go better, and having a better understanding of even color palettes, which is really encouraging for me. I also really like how I was able to use the prompt for this project of an unexpected friend to make a story around an enemy of my enemy is my friend, where Bren and Pier are fighting the ghouls, but also Bren and the ghouls are fighting Pier. So I like that it's just kind of a confusing, surprise ambush from all sides for everyone. And speaking of the prompt, I'd really love to get a shout out to Boylei Hobby Time for putting up this art challenge. He and his community do incredible work, and I'll put some links in the chat as they appear, just because if you like my content, I'm sure you're gonna like theirs, if not more. It's an incredible community, and I encourage everyone to go check them out. My next project might not be a tale from Mund, but I will be returning to it pretty frequently. I'm really feeling it right now, and I can see myself doing this for a long time. And an important lesson is you kind of have to paint what you're motivated to paint right now. So I'll follow this until I want to switch to something else. Another reason why I wanted to make this a knight versus bandit diorama is to use this dirty down rust. This rust, really, I am just truly in love with, because if you can figure out how to use it, it truly looks like you'll get tetanus if you touch your models. But pretty much you lather on the dirty down effect and then get a watered down brush and pull away the extra. And then once it dries, I think it just looks really beautiful. Once the miniatures were finished, I could then come in with a heavy dry brushing of a stone color just to bring all the different pieces of the diorama together. And then I took a makeup brush that I stole from my fiance's stash and put an irregular pattern on the top of the stones. To clean up the sides a bit, I cut out some wooden veneer and painted it black just to make it look smoother. For the final assembly, we can free all of our miniatures from their stands. The ghouls admittedly took a little bit more work than the soldiers. And then we can move to glue them into place for their permanent housings. For some final detail work, I decided I wanted to put some more fluorescent paint around the base of all the ghouls. Although this won't show up very well, I think it adds a bit of realism to the diorama. And with that, we can move on to some glamour shots. I'd like to take this moment at the end to say thank you to each of you for sticking around to the end of the video. It means a lot to me that I'm able to share these small little glimpses into my imagination with you all, and I really enjoy this hobby. If you want to stay up to date with all my other recent projects, feel free to drop a like and subscribe. And shout out once again to Boylei Hobby Time for organizing this community project. I'll catch you all in the next video, and I hope you all have an excellent week. See you around.